Yo, welcome back to the channel. In this video today, we're going over the Stamina Dragonknight for the Waking Flame patch. Let's go ahead and get into it. The maximum health is 19.2k, maximum stamina is 34.6, stamina recovery is 1.5k unbuffed, weapon damage unbuffed is 4.2, and weapon critical is 55.8%, and our physical penetration is 700. Now that is low, but we make up for it in different ways, just due to what we're wearing. We weren't really able to get it up to where we want it to be by ourselves, so we're making up for it in another method, and that I will go over when I get to it. But normally you would want to aim for around 4k, like 4.45 Stam character by yourself. That's just my opinion for most 4-man content. So Stam is 64 points into stamina. Now when it comes to DPS and all these stats, I am a Khajiit. If you are pushing for numbers, Khajiit, Orc, Dark Elf, top 3. Khajiit probably the better of the 3. Outside of that, Red Guard is pretty good for sustain. Bosmir is nice too. You get a nice little penetration boost as well. The DPS is a little different on them, but overall, you can do any of the 4-man content and even trials. You can do any content with those classes as well. It just depends on what you're after yourself. So, food I'm running is the Lavafoot Soup-and-Saltrice, and the boon I'm running is the Theif. So, now, champion points. In the green tree, I have 50 into Gilded Fingers and Fortune Favor. It's just extra gold, an extra 10% gold from everything. From Gilded Fingers and Fortune Favor gives me an extra 50% gold in treasure chests and safe boxes. And then over here, we have Steadfast Enchantment. It causes our enchantments to decay at 50% rate slower. So it's just nice. And then for the ones that we keep on our bar, Treasure Hunter increases the quality of items you find in treasure chests, and Liquid Efficiency. Whenever you use a potion or poison, you have a 10% chance to not consume it. So, and then finally, Master Gatherer and Plentiful Harvest. When I'm waiting on groups and dungeon queues, I tend to run around and farm. I use these. I have them on my bar almost at all times, just because. Unless I'm doing score runs or something like that, then I trade them out. But for the most part, I leave these here. One of these, Master Gatherer, basically reduces the time it takes for me to harvest by 50%, and Plentiful Harvest gives me a 50% chance to get double resources. Now, if you don't care about those, and what I use for score runs, Rationer gives me an extra 30 minutes of my food, and Steve's Blessing increases my out-of-combat movement speed. So, these are really nice to have. Only reason why they're not unlocked here on Stem Tunes is I don't do too many score pushing on Stem Tunes. So, Red Tree on my bar, Boundless Vitality gives me an extra 1400 max health. Fortified gives me an extra 1.7k armor. Rejuvenation gives me 90 health, magic, and stam recovery. And then finally over here with Bloody Renewal, which will give me 1500 stamina whenever I kill an enemy. And I have to be the one to land a killing blow in order to get those resources back. Now when it comes to passives, ones that are good to have, Hero's Vigor gives us an extra 560 max health. So that's the main one there for me. Outside of that, Defiance reduces the cost to break free. Tumbling reduces the cost to roll dodge. Sprinter reduces the cost of sprint. Hasty increases our movement speed. Tireless Guardian reduces the cost of block. Fortification increases our block mitigation. Savage Defense reduces the cost of bash. Bashing Brutality increases our damage to bash. Nimble Protector increases our movement speed while we're blocking. And then finally, one that I like is this one, Tempered Soul. Whenever we get caught, get killed, one-shot it, whatever it may be, when we get it reds, we get 10 more of our resources back. 10% more of our resources back. So this is just nice to have on the bar. Or just a nice passive to have unlocked. So, in the blue tree, Precision gives us critical chance. Tireless Discipline gives us max stamina. Now, Piercing gives us offensive penetration. Battle Mastery increases our chance to apply a martial status effect. And Mighty gives us 100 weapon and spell damage to our martial attacks, which affects most of our damage because it's poison and bleed. So, now for the ones that I keep on my bar, when I'm just running with randoms, Fighting Finesse, Thaumaturge, Master at Arms, and Biting Aura. Now, when I know I'm in a group where I can be behind the target and sit there and have no problems, I use BackStabber. Like when I know I can stay and flank the enemy, I don't have to worry about the enemy running around or facing me or any of the sort. I can use this. And what I do, I normally get rid of Master at Arms. Usually keep the area, Biting Aura, and Thaumaturge, because most of our damages are dots and area effect attacks. Outside of that, Master at Arms does increase, will increase the initial hit on most of our abilities, and then our main spammable. But I feel like I get more out of BackStabber having that there over Master at Arms when I can use it, and I feel like I get more out of Thaumaturge and Biting Auras. But you can use whichever one you feel more comfortable with these four. But Fighting Finesse should always be on your bar, because it just gives you that extra 10% critical damage or critical healing, which is nice to have. And then BackStabber, it should be the one you substitute when you can stand behind the enemy. Just pick whichever one you feel is best for you. So, item sets, very easy sets to get, except for maybe the monster set. Except it shows up in the golden quite a bit, so it might not be too hard to get either. Viper, we're running double precise daggers, one with absorb stamina enchant, and one with poison damage enchant. And then we're running jewelry, all with weapon damage, all robust. And of course, 3 bloodthirsty, 2 bloodthirsty, 1 infused would be better, but robust is still nice. It's not as much DPS as bloodthirsty and infused, or 3 bloodthirsty, but it's still nice for a Stam tune. So now what this set does, it gives us weapon critical, max stamina, weapon critical, and when we deal damage with a martial melee attack, you deal an additional 5.4k poison damage over 4 seconds. This effect can occur once every 4 seconds and scales off the higher of your weapon spell damage. Now, this comes from Fungal Grotto 1, and you can get a dagger from Fungal Grotto 2. It's the second boss, first big boss. It pins you down. She drops this dagger called Knife of Shadows. It comes sharpened. It also comes with Oblivion enchant. But you can go with this. Very easy to get. You get this from Fungal Grotto 1. And as you can see in Fungal Grotto 1, in general, when it comes to farming for weapons for Fungal Grotto, there is no lightning staffs, there is no nothing else. Apparently I do not have the helmet of that. It's kind of funny. And the necklace of that. Huh. I'll have to go get those later today. But either way, very easy set to get. You get that name dagger. Most of the stuff drops pretty frequently because you don't have a ton of stuff to go through. But dual daggers, you get the name dagger from the boss in Fungal Grotto 2, and then you just reconstruct this. Very easy to do. So now, if you want more penetration with this set, you can go dagger precise with mace sharpened, and that should give you your 4k penetration, or at least close to it. So if you're not running the second set, if you have more crit than I do, by all means you can definitely replace one of the daggers with a mace sharpened, or replace one of the precise traits on a dagger with sharpened to help your penetration. It's up to you. Now, the back bar, Maelstrom Bow, infused with a weapon damage enchant. You get this from normal Maelstrom Arena, and it increases the damage volley deals by 430 each tick. This bonus increases by 143 every time volley ticks, up to a maximum of 8 times. We're running it infused with a weapon damage enchant on it. So, very easy to get from normal Maelstrom Arena. You don't have to farm vet anymore for this type of stuff, and this will increase your DPS greatly because you use Endless Hell non-stop. And this lasts for 4 seconds, so we can front bar this and have this on our back bar, no problems. It's not like we need to keep this static. Plus, you cannot get a bow for this. So, now, monster set, because it's there, Balrogs. Medium, everything's medium, divines, max stamina, shoulders, divines, max stamina. Now, what this does is that this gives us weapon damage and spell damage, but really you only want the weapon damage. But when you use an ultimate ability, you gain weapon and spell damage equal to the amount of total ultimate consumed, and physical and spell penetration equal to 23 times the amount for 12 seconds. So for 12 seconds we're going to have quite a bit of ultimate, and then it does kind of change. So as you can see, we have Dawnbreaker here, but the main ultimate that we use is our Standard Might. I normally start with this, and then I'll use Dawnbreaker after, just to keep Belrog's and Belrog's proc, so I keep my penetration. So when you use this, I'll buff up here fully, throw down this, pop a pot, drop this, bar swap, and you'll see my physical penetration goes to 6.9k, my stam recovery goes to 1.8, weapon damage is 6.3. So I have plenty of penetration. So as you can see, for 12 seconds there, it drops to 700. But it's usually down, I would usually within 20-25 seconds or so. So usually about roughly a 17-second lull where I can fire off my Dawnbreaker again. Once I can get my Dawnbreaker, I can drop it, and my penetration goes back up to around 4k. So I'm good on penetration just because of Belrog's. It's the reason why I can get my crit up, or at least push my crit like I have with the double precise dagger. So that's just what I use it. Now, if you wanted to, if you don't have Belrog's and don't really want to use this, you can use, and I have it, but I got this. No, I do not. Must be on a different tune. But it's okay. It comes from Fungal Grotto 1. Crags. It gives us physical penetration, and when you deal damage, you have a chance to spawn Dragonknights. This is nice as well. It's nice, solid DPS if you want to wear a full monster set. If you don't, you can use one piece this and one piece Slime Crawl. Slime Crawl, you know, Way Rest gives you the most crit you can get from a one piece item. So you can definitely go for more penetration with that crit and run the dual daggers as well. Or you can just run like 2 pieces crit. So you would run something like Slime Crawl from here with, let's see, Grundlewolf or Stone Guardian here. Weapon, it'll give you a weapon critical, same as Grundlewolf. So you can run this as well. This gives you crit too. So you can run like 1 piece Slime Crawl, 1 piece Grundlewolf for your crit, and then use 1 mace with a sharpen trait. So that will give you your penetration. There's multiple ways you can set this up. You know, so you can go 1 crags, 1 crit item, 2 crit items, and then go dagger or go mace with sharpened on it. It's up to you what you want to do if you do not have this set or don't even want to use these sets. You don't have to. It means you don't. So our second 5-piece set that we're running is Swamp Raiders. Divines, max stamina, usually all on the body, but I do have legs infused. I just haven't changed them. Now honestly, I might not. DPS is still okay even without it, so that little extra stamina is kind of nice for me, but I really don't need it, so I might change this to Divines. But 1 piece infused will not hurt you. So what this set does, it gives us weapon critical, max down, weapon damage, and then it adds 579 weapon damage to your poison and disease damage abilities. If you gold this all out, it will be 600. So that is nice. And what this does is that this is a overland set. And like I said, it affects our poison. And outside of our spammable and trap, it affects pretty much everything else. So, or at least it affects our main two dots, 3 dots actually. So it's just nice to have. But if you wanted to replace this for something else, Witch Knight's Jack is really nice. I really like this, but with this set, I end up under. I think I end up around 47% crit. So, but Witch Knight's Defiance is an amazing set. I love it. And I've paired it with stuff like Leviathan. So I've used this on weapons and ran Leviathan on the body. And pulled off great numbers as well. Usually the same DPS. Close to the same numbers. So it's just about what you want to do. You can also run this with Warband. Or Dragon Guard Elite, if you can manage to keep that up, keep that going. It's up to you. So, but there are crit sets that you can run that are not trial sets, that where you can use something like this that just offers nothing but weapon damage and then damage against poison enemies. So, but yeah, Swamp Raider is a overland set. It comes from Shadowfen. Very easy set to get. Shadowfen. I do not like Shadowfen myself. It's just a zone I do not like. So I've not done much farming in this zone, but it is a pretty easy set to get into and get. There are actually, if you want to run this on the weapons, you can, because of the fact that there's a named dagger and there's a named axe that drops. So you can get that and then get the jewelry, fine, or get a couple pieces on the body divines, however you like. Now for alternate sets, like I said, Witch Knight's really nice. Leviathan is a really nice set to have. When it comes to DPS sets, Scavenging Demise is a nice set, as you can see. I have quite a bit of this stuff. Scavenging Demise is really nice. It summons a mob that's going to deal quite a bit of poison damage, and it's also going to inflict any minor vulnerability. So, this gives you weapon damage, weapon critical. This comes from Debs the Maltar, so it's a nice little set to have as well. Just in case you don't have like a warden in your group or something like that, you can always put this on, and get minor vulnerability. So, and then you have Moratong, which is an amazing set to run as well. This gives you weapon damage, max Stam, weapon damage, and when you deal direct damage, you cause an enemy to take 10% more damage from poison and disease attacks for 5 seconds. This is cool if you're running with, like, let's say you and your buddy are both Stam DKs, or you're a Stam DK and they're a Stam Nightblade. So that poison and disease there does work. Or a Stam Necro. Let's say you're running 3 Stamina tunes, so you got a Necro, a Nightblade, a DK. This set here will buff all 3 of y'all's damage. They will take 10% more damage from all 3 of y'all for 5 seconds. And with the way this is set up, that's pretty much going to be up damn near 100% of the time. So yeah, monster sets, like I said, you can 2-piece crit, 1-piece penetration from Crags, 1-piece crit, or just run full monster sets. And if you want to run full monster sets, I guess I should go over sets about that. In general, there's not that many good ones for stamina. Like Crags is a really solid one. It gives you penetration, deals damage. Celine's is another good one. Gives you max stamina, and it deals damage. With a bear. Like it calls on a little bear spirit to attack, mauls the enemy. It's a pretty solid set as well. Gives you a little bit of stamina. Stormfist is a decent set. It's quite a bit of physical damage there with a little bit of shock damage, but I don't like it so much on Stam DK. I do like it on Stam Sorcerers though. Outside of that, there's not much for out of base dungeons. Like you could also go 1-piece Slime Crawl, but with one of the skills that we're running, we get Minor Berserk anyways, so it's really not worth it. So DLC dungeons, let's see. Cradle of Shadows isn't a bad one to run. Gives you weapon damage, and it'll spawn, deal low disease damage with some spores. Trying to think off the top of my head here. Domahas isn't a bad set. It'll give you some extra weapon damage, but that damage they take, unless it's a massive target, they're not really going to take any damage from that. There's also Lair, which Marcelok, when you deal damage with a heavy attack, but heavy attack rotations are kind of weird to do, so that used to be better because you used to bash and it would deal that damage. Now it's a heavy attack. We are using Belrog, so kind of went over that. Outside of that, I don't think there's really any other sets, any other monster sets. So you can mix and match, or just run a full set. There's also Cellatrix. I will say that there is Cellatrix. I guess Cellatrix does not get love, but it gives you max stamina and it deals a little bit of physical damage, but it also stuns the enemy. It's not the most damage, but if you don't have a heal, then that little extra stun might help you. I should say that. So yeah, that's it for the skills, or it for the inventory, or the sets. So let's go over this. Stone Giant. This is our spam bull that we're using. It crushes the earth beneath you, dealing 9.9k physical damage to all enemies within 6 meters of you. Debris ripped from the ground is held around you for 12 seconds. Activating this ability again allows you to launch part of the debris at an enemy, dealing 9.1k physical damage up to 3 times the final cast, stunned for 3 seconds. Each hit applies stagger, increasing damage taken by 65 per stack for 6 seconds. This is a weird ability to use, because you hit that, and it does initial damage, but that's kind of it. And if you're aiming for that, let these fall off real quick. So like if the enemy is over there and you're trying to just throw that at to start the DPS, like you've thrown Endless Hell down, you've thrown Poison Injection, so you're about to throw a Giant Fist, not gonna hit it. Like, it literally has to be around you on the first initial cast, but afterwards you can chunk them at it. I did not, should have aimed at the 3 mil. So, but yeah, that's, it's a weird ability, and it also feels weird when using, but overall, it is probably one of the better spammables, and I cannot get rid of those. That blows. So, just take in consideration, you know, I'm trial buffed right now, so these dots are going to be a little off. So, if you don't like Stone Giant as a spammable, you have options. Rapid Strikes is a really good one. That floods an enemy with steel, battering them for 5 consecutive attacks that each deal 1.7k physical damage. Each hit increases the damage of the subsequent hit by 3%. The final hit deals 3% more damage. Now, I do not have it unlocked here, but you also have Hidden Blade. This is a pretty nice little ability too. You turn it into Shrouded Daggers. It's a pretty nice spammable too. So you have like 3 spammables you can use. So, Venomous Claw. Rake an enemy with your claws, dealing 6k poison damage and an additional 21.6k poison damage over 14 seconds. The poison seeps into the target, deals increased damage the longer it lasts, dealing 20% more damage every 2 seconds. Enemies hit by the initial hit are afflicted with the poison status effect. This is why Witch Knight is so good, because the moment we hit them with this, they're going to be poisoned, and we're going to get that extra damage on them. So, this definitely makes Witch Knight so amazing on this, and it will not proc until you get to your front bar and hit them with this. So it will proc right around the time you start throwing out your spammable. So, Noxious Breath. Exhale a corrosive blast to enemies in front of you, dealing 10.1k poison damage and an additional 16.7k poison damage over 14 seconds. Flex enemy with major breach, reducing their physical and spell resistance by 5.9k. So, use dot, lasts for 14 seconds. Use dot, lasts for 14 seconds. So, Barb Trap. When triggered, the trap deals 5.5k bleed damage and an additional 19.9k bleed damage over 18 seconds and grants you Minor Force, increasing your critical damage by 10% for the duration. This gives us our Minor Force, increasing our critical damage, as you can see, and it is a huge dot, so it is really fun to have. So, honestly, Griffin's Ferocity, like, I guess I should pull up Griffin's Ferocity if I'm going to talk about it. But Griffin's Ferocity is found in Somerset. It is kind of like the weaker version of Warband. It gives you weapon critical and weapon damage, but when you deal direct damage, you gain Minor Force and Minor Expedition for 10 seconds. So, even though that's good, then with Warband is Frostvault. This gives you weapon critical, some physical penetration, but when you deal critical damage, you will gain critical. So this will increase your critical chances. But at max dash, you gain Minor Force, increase your critical damage down by 10%. Even though this gives us Minor Force, if you can handle it in your rotation, I would still run Barb Trap. Like, it's a 20k dot. Like, even if I just hit buff myself here without my weapon, it's still an 18.6. So when I'm fully in groups and stuff, it's a high dot. Still a 20k dot. So this is worth using. So Warband is great for crit, but I just like the dot from Barb Trap. So Camo Hunter. While slotted, you gain Major Savagery, increasing your weapon critical rating by 2.6. You also gain Minor Berserk for 5 seconds after you deal critical damage from an enemy's flank, increasing your damage done by 5%. This is why we don't wear a full set of Slime Crawl, because of the fact we get Minor Berserk from this. So it's just not that second piece from Slime Crawl is kind of wasted. So it's better just to either pair it with something else or just straight out use a different monster set. Flawless Dawnbreaker. Arm yourself from Maria's Sacred Sword and dispense her Retribution, doing 13.5k physical damage to enemies in front of you, and additional 14.9k physical damage over 6 seconds. After activating, your weapon and spell damage is increased by 300 for 20 seconds. So, Backbar. Poison Injection. Shoot an arrow coated in Bandera poison at an enemy, dealing 4.5k poison damage and additional 9k poison damage over 10 seconds. Deals up to 100% more damage to enemies under 50% health. This is really kind of works as an execute a little bit, so it's nice to have. Arrow Barrage lasts for 10 seconds. Launch a multitude of arrows into the sky to rain down, dealing 1.8k physical damage to enemies in the target area every 1 second for 8 seconds after a 2-second delay. You can definitely go Endless Hell if you wanted to. There's nothing wrong with it. I think it only lasts for like 11 seconds now. So, I wouldn't say, it's whichever one you want. So whichever morph you want. Flames of Oblivion. Activating aura flames with launch a fireball at 2 enemies every 5 seconds, dealing 6,666 flame damage. While slotted, you gain major prophecy and major savagery, increase your weapon and spell damage, critical rating by 2.6, ability scales with your highest offensive stat. Now, this is a good ability to have and to use. If you do not want to use this, I guess you could use something like Soul Trap or raise your caltrops if you wanted to. But honestly, I would use Flame Oblivion, or at least get comfortable using Flame Oblivion, because that extra little dot is nice. It does last 15 seconds though, so there will be like a 5-second downtime, so you'll hit it on your second rotation, but it's still a nice little fireball. Igneous Weapon. Charge you and your group allies' weapons with volcanic power to gain major brutality and sorcery, increasing your weapon and spell damage by 20% for 54 seconds. 54 seconds is a long time, and you never know what kind of group you're going to have, especially in pugs. So this is going to help their damage, it's going to help your damage, and it allows us to get away with using trash pots. So that's why I have it there. Really nothing else to it. If I was going to replace it with something, I would just replace it with Barb Trap. That's it. So, or one of the other abilities from Fire Skilled, I will say that. Like you could put down like, if you wanted to, you could definitely put down something like Circle of Protection or run Silver Bolts. Of course, you would morph this to where you could pull them to you if your group needed that little extra silver leash pull. But Circle of Protection is nice too, so you could run that. You could have that on your back bar as well. Barb Trap if you didn't want to use it. So, Resolving Vigor. Let loose the battle cry, instilling yourself with Resolve and healing for 17.4k health per seconds. So, that's just our heal. Then our back bar, Standard of Might. Call down a battle standard dealing 4.8k flame damage every 1 second for 20 seconds to enemies and applying major defile to them, reducing their healing, recede, and health recovery by 16%. Standing in the area increases your damage done and reduces damage taken by 15%. An ally near the standard can activate the Shackle Energy, dealing 11.5k flame damage to enemies in the area and immobilizing them for 5 seconds. So this is the main ultimate that we start out with and that we open up with, and then after that I just use Dawnbreaker. That's just me. So yeah, so for the rotation, of course, you would buff up. Hit this, Flames of Oblivion. I don't have an ult to drop here, so this, Barb Trap, Bar Swap, Endless Hell, or Arrow Barrage, Poison Injection, Bar Swap, Noxious Breath, Venomous Claw, Stone Giant. Normally you can fire off about 3, so you'll be able to fire off the full 3. And then rotate back out, Arrow Barrage, Poison Injection, drop Standard of Might, rotate, and then just repeat. Now, sometimes, as you get used to the rotation, like a quick rotation, real quick, just a quick one. So, that I would do. Well, I missed Barb Trap there at the beginning, but it's alright. So, I like to keep an eye on Poison Injection, and once it gets to about 2, I will rotate, Arrow Barrage, Poison Injection, and Bar Swap. But as you can see, Noxious Breath and Venomous Claw still have seconds on them, so I wait. And then, usually, once Poison Injection gets to about 4, I'm able to just go back and just keep repeating it. And now they're lined up though, so I'll either overcast them or I'll let them fall off just for a second to just go back and do it again. So if it comes down to it where I need to let them fall off, it's not that big of a deal, because they're only going to be down for like a second. You don't want to overcast these, you want to let them run out, especially Venomous Claw, just due to the fact that they deal more damage the longer they last. It's like Venomous Claw, you know, every 2 seconds it's going to deal more damage, so you want this to stay on for the full 14. Now, Noxious Breath isn't necessarily as big of a deal because the dot does not get stronger as it stays, but Venomous Claw it does. And it's just better to keep these two together than it is to like have these apart. You don't want to be casting this one every 14, but then have this one going off 3 seconds after, or 2 seconds after. You know, you want to have these very close to one another. I usually like to have this one. I usually like to have Venomous Claw ending right as I'm using Noxious Breath, for the rotation, just so that way I'm not casting it a little too soon. So it works. Now, like I said, Stone Giant is a weird ability to use, and as you can see, Rapid Strikes does feel a whole lot better than Stone Giant. Like, it just looks smoother. It's not as clunky. So me personally, I like Rapid Strikes. I prefer to use Rapid Strikes, or you can even go the Blood Morph if you wanted to. It's up to you on which one you do. The other one will throw out some heals to you. This one just deals a little more damage. So it's up to you. But when it comes to the DPS between the two, there's not that much of a difference. Like this right here, 35.9k with Stone Giant, and then 34.6k was with Rapid Strikes. So there's not a huge DPS loss. And I don't know if you've noticed or not, but I've kind of frozen up here or there. So hopefully it doesn't affect the video too much. But the DPS loss isn't that big. It's like 13, or less than 13. So it's not that huge. So if you don't like Stone Giant Fist, don't use it. Use Rapid Strikes, or use Flying Dagger, or Hidden Dagger. My bad. Yeah, I believe it's called Hidden Dagger. Yeah, Hidden Blade, and then morph it to whichever one you like better. I would go Shrouded Daggers, just me personally, but you can do whichever one you like. So, but yeah, I like the Stam DK. I love the Stam DK. I really can't wait for next patch because I've seen some of the buffs, and I'm really looking forward. I think we're getting a Stamina Whip. I think, and I cannot wait for it. I hope so, because that would be great. Because Stone Giant, the spam bull they gave us in Stone Giant Fist, or the Stone Giant, just doesn't work. So hopefully they do end up turning Lava Whip into a Stamina Morph as well. That would be absolutely amazing. So let me know if you're looking forward to the buffs to the Stam DK in the next patch and Deadlands. Let me know what sets you run. Let me know if you enjoyed the video or if you hated it. And until next time, take care.